All right, what up? What up? It's Golden Spaces. It's an Odyssey original podcast. We're just doing a little pre-pod joking around. But the Warriors win a game. They've now won 2 out of their last 3. This is a game they were supposed to win. This is a game they were probably supposed to blow San Antonio out, and they were in the process of doing that before they gave up, I want to say, a 10 or 11-0 run or something like that in the fourth quarter to make it a close game.
Yes.
But a win is a win is a win. We'll talk about, that kind of collapse or almost collapse a little bit. But it's good to see, them add another number onto that win column. Now they're 8-9, and they get Draymond back for their next game, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he will be back for Sacramento. Look at that.
Perfect game to come back.
Perfect game to hopefully not get ejected.
Right. I was talking to Greg before the pod started about Draymond and like how he'll have an incident and then it'll be he buffers into his next one. He loads up.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be on his best behavior for a little bit.
Yep, just for a little bit.
Yeah, just for a little bit, and then he's going to have another episode at some point, and we're going to have the same conversation about him again. But I think he's going to come back, and they're going to be, they're going to be good. I think this is the part where like their season kind of restarts. All right, I want to say I heard somewhere they have second easiest strength of schedule remaining for the rest of the season.
Well, that's
it's pretty good, right? They've had one of the hardest up to this point.
Yeah, top 2. I think we're number 2 with the toughest schedule.
Yeah, toughest schedule. Draymond has missed 6 games, with including the suspension in the first game he lost. First game he missed. Yeah. How many games did he miss?
Well, 5 suspensions. He got ejected from the Cavs one, so that's 6 because you can't even count that.
Also ejected from the Timberwolves.
Exactly, and then that one early part of the third quarter. So that's 7 games out of where are we at? We're at 15 now, 16 now. Where are we?
We're at 17 now, but he also missed the Suns game, the first Suns game of the season.
Yep, so that's 8.
He missed the Nuggets game, which is 9.
Yep.
So he's missed over half of the season.
Yes. Counting. Like
yeah. He's missed over half the season.
Look, 9 games.
9 games. Steph has missed 2.
Yes.
Wiggins has missed this entire season, if you ask me. But
well, let's
no, I'm just kidding. Wiggins and Clay have been under their standard, and they're trending upward.
They are.
And the Warriors have played the Thunder twice, who are second in the West. Lost. Well, they played them 3 times, lost 2. Yeah. They played the Timberwolves twice, who are first in the West, and lost both. They played the Cavs, who I don't know where they're standing at, but they're a good team.
What the Cavs are literally like out of the play-in tournament. I think they're sitting at 9, I think, in the East.
Oh, okay. So maybe they're just good against the Warriors.
Exactly.
But yeah, needless to say, they've had a very tough go of it so far. Do I think
Gary missed
Gary also missed time.
2 or 3 games. So
yeah. And there's been a lot of like trade rumors and not trade rumors, but like trade requests from the fan base and trying to get Clay and Wiggins and other guys traded, which I mean, it's all fair game at this point in the season. Like once you get around 20 games, and it's reasonable to, question roster and stuff like that if things aren't going your way. But we do have to add context to the situation and say they've been missing their best players for a lot of the time. They've been playing a lot of good teams. They've been playing on the road a lot.
Yep.
They've been playing a lot of games in a short period of time.
True.
To be around 500, it's not the end of the world.
And they added some new players.
Mm-hmm.
So that also, hey, we've never played with them before. That's Chris Paul. That's Dario. And your 2 rookies coming into the fold, and then on top of that, missing, Draymond for a good portion of it. Who is your defensive anchor? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
To kind of get people in line on that side of the ball. So that's a lot going into. And hey, by the way, you're going to play the second toughest schedule to start out the season. Good times, good times.
Yeah.
So, so to actually be where we are, we can kind of be like, whew, look at us trying to weather this storm. Again, it would have been nice had we had those pieces and go on
Hmm.
a 6-0 homestead instead of
Yeah.
0-6. So,
Exactly.
so to be where we are thankful on
Yeah.
this day
All.
after Thanksgiving. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All things considered, like this is not the worst possible position to be in. Um, and then you factor in like, okay, they should reel off a run at some point in the season because the schedule lightens up. But also, like you look at the results of these games, even a lot of the games they lost comes down to one possession, two possessions, right? They're
Yeah.
not getting blown
So
out. They've
close.
gotten blown out like twice,
Yeah.
but for the most part, they're in it with these really, really good teams while missing guys, while their
Mhm.
best players, particularly their starters, haven't been performing well. So,
Right.
you know, is keep your head up. I know it, but I will say this: Draymond's back against Sacramento. The
Mhm.
team's fully healthy. I'm assuming at this
Yes.
point, like this is kind of where they should be. Like, all right, this is where our season starts.
Began. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where our season restarts. We can try to go on a run from here, get really serious, reel off a couple wins in a row, and try to get some momentum going forward. I don't know what Dre's conditioning is going to be like, but your teams all together, you need to turn it around because you're 8-9 right now. By game 25, you should be somewhere around like I don't know,
At least
13 wins or something like that.
500 at least. We
Oh
hope.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Should be over 500. So it would be nice to be like 14 and 11. You know what I mean? Get 6 out of the next 8. That would be great.
Fantastic, yeah. But Draymond had, I think Kurt mentioned that he did scrimmage, and he also traveled to Phoenix with them, so he's and did, like, some 3-on-3 or whatever,
Hmm.
so he's at least kept up with some conditioning, so that's good because 'cause you're gonna come back. We're gonna need you to be, like, on it, not on some, "Well, he's gotta work back," because he wasn't off with
Hmm.
it. So, it's like,
Exactly.
you better
Exactly. And
be
he could have been using that time because he started the season injured, so he was
right.
very good when he came back, but he wasn't the best version that he could have been at that point in the season. Mainly because his conditioning wasn't there because he couldn't do conditioning because his ankle. But now he's had some extra time off where he can focus just on those things that he missed probably in training camp. So hopefully he's coming into this Kings game ready to go.
Ready
Ready
to
to
go.
go.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this Spurs game in season tournament. The Warriors are now what 2-1 in the in season
1.
tournament with an opportunity to beat the Kings. Um, who are now 3-0, which would make
Right,
which would tie the record, but obviously the point differential would determine whether or not the Warriors would come out top of this group. And
right.
I want to say the Kings are plus 29 point differential and the Warriors are -3.
Yeah.
So they would have to win by 32 if my math is correct.
Your math
32 or more.
your math is correct, and so we don't see that happening. I mean,
Right. You never know, but it's not likely that they're gonna blow them out by 32.
yeah, yeah, that seems like a lot,
Yeah.
especially against the Kings,
Yeah.
who
Hooping.
are
Hooping.
kinda similar to the Warriors as far as offensive power and stuff like that, so they're a
Mhm.
run and gun type of, squad, so 32, something had to, like, somebody had to bug out, like Clay maybe, I don't know, for it to, 32 points, that's just
Yeah.
that would be insane.
Yeah. That would be great. We hoping for it, but yeah, so it's gonna get interesting depending on the result of that game. Even if they win, who knows if they'll be able to get in with the wild card or something like that. Really, this was supposed to be the game and we'll get into this game now, but this is supposed to be the game where they got a big blowout win in the in-season tournament to make up some of that
Yeah.
ground that they lost elsewhere. But they ended up only winning by 6 because the Spurs went on a run at the very end. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, it was a 5-point lead for Golden State, which quickly turned into 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went right back down to, what did they get it to? 4?
Yeah, and I think it was
Yeah,
that was like at the 2 minute and 50-second mark or something like that. All of a sudden, just
meltdown.
yeah, just went haywire. The turnovers picked up. It just couldn't get a stop to save your life, and
Hmm.
missing shots, and just it was like, what is going on here? What is going on here?
Yeah.
So
And and this is where, obviously the players have a lot to do with this, but this is where you kind of got to look at Steve and say, brother, can you rally your troops? Do they even listen to what you're saying at this point anymore? Like, they had one possession. I'm pretty sure it was an and one. I want to say off of an offensive rebound. It was an and one, and then they got a tech.
yeah, that one I was just like, wait, where did that tech come from? And apparently Dario got the tech, but
Yeah,
I didn't see like where it all like happened. I was watching, I was like, wait,
right.
where did
He
this tech?
probably reacted to the call or something like that. But yeah. So there's 2 shots that go up. I want to say Wembanyama got one of the offensive rebounds, which is kind of like, well, he's seven a thousand.
Right.
So
Look,
he's he's gonna get it.
he was
But then
there.
Yeah, exactly. But Keldon gets in there, grabs another one, and puts it back, gets
Yeah,
fouled and one. That
yeah,
can't happen. But
cannot.
I also asked myself, like, why is Chris Paul in the game? I'm not saying he missed the box out, but I'm saying more athleticism and length on the court in these points of the game where you need more stops will probably help you. But
Yeah.
Keldon gets the putback, Dario gets a tech, and they turn um, an 8-point deficit into
Mhm.
a 4-point deficit with no time coming off the clock. That is just like textbook meltdown. You're losing your
We're
mind
losing
at that point.
recipes.
Yeah. Like, what is going on? So they really have to, get that in order because that's totally uncharacteristic of them. But just in general, if you're a serious team, you can't make mistakes like this because this is the Spurs who are terrible, right? They're 3-13 now. They had lost 10 games in a row coming into
Mhm.
this game.
Yeah.
They are used to losing at this point.
Yep. Just
Pop
say,
already said, like, I'm not even coaching these guys right now. I'm just letting them play because I want to
yeah.
see what they can do. You should beat them by 50, like, but
Okay, maybe not 50, but
maybe
still.
not 50, but like, yeah, that
Because they're
18-point
still
lead in the fourth quarter should have ballooned to 25.
it it really should have. And again, yes, you're going to some vets there who's like, okay, you should have it together. You should be able to close these guys out
Hmm.
because hey, 18-point lead. Let's just get it done. And
Hmm.
then it just nope, spirals out, spirals out. And Chris really kind of was like the one just just messing up the flow basically. Really. Just
Hmm.
like, dude, come on, what are you doing? Why is SETI open? He should not be.
Right.
Like
Right.
there's no reason that he should be. You should not be leaving him. For what reason? Like
Hmm. And
why?
that's what I'm saying. I get back to Steve. It's like, why is he on the court? I mean, I understand why he's on the court, but it's like, this is the Spurs, and you don't need that extra ball handler. I mean, even if it was the Spurs, you don't
Yeah.
need. It's not an absolute necessity to have Chris Paul on the court
Mhm.
to end the game so they don't turn the ball over. Like,
Yeah.
Steph is fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yes, he has a turnover fetish sometimes during in the course of the game, during the course of the game. But like when it's winning time, I'm pretty sure you can trust 4-time champion, all-time great Steph Curry to not
Mhm.
turn the ball over. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you need to lean into having your athletes and your defenders on the court so another team can't reel off all these points in a short period of time and get all these offensive rebounds back. The only time that they are vulnerable to, size and athleticism, stuff like that, is when they play Chris, Steph, and Clay all together. We're all
Yeah.
33 plus, 35, 38 guards who, even in their heyday, weren't the most physically imposing guys out there. Chris was quick, but he's still 5'10".
Right.
You know,
Right.
Steph is a smaller guard, and Clay could move his feet well, but he was never the most athletic guy out there. So like you're giving up a lot on the perimeter athleticism wise, and that can lead to 3-pointers from the other team, offensive rebounds, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Those are the facts, and they cannot be disputed. So, no. But my gosh, uh, Moses Moody, he started.
mhm,
I thought that that was a really great move, and I feel like we should see that kind of lineup together a lot more,
mhm,
and then we didn't see Moody for any more time after that whole sequence of yeah, Moody. I was like, Moody, what are you doing? Like it was
mhm.
just turn over here. It was like, hold on, calm
Yeah,
yourself. You're doing too much because you were just fine. Like you just saved the ball, and then you get it back and you run, and then it's off your foot. Like it was like Moody, you did all these right things. I I mean, I thought it was unfortunate that he didn't get a chance to kind of like redeem himself
mhm,
all after that, but that stint right there, no more. There was no more Moses Moody, and I thought he was really making some really good plays. I mean, grab that offensive rebound off of
yeah,
that play miss in the, second half. It was just like, "Okay, all right." And no,
yeah.
back out there. How many minutes did he end up, like,
He only
playing?
ended up playing 17 minutes, and
Yeah,
if you start and only play 17 minutes,
that
like, come on now.
yeah, then why are we starting? Why are we
Why are
starting?
we starting you, right? I mean, he's a very dynamic player. Like you just said, all the things that he did. He grabs offensive rebounds. He's a two guard
Mhm.
slash small forward that grabs offensive rebounds frequently. He defends. He can hit an open shot. Sometimes, depending on matchup, he can create his own shot. Um, and I think defensively on this team, he's the closest thing to Draymond that we have, right? I mean,
Right.
people are waiting for Kaminga to kind of take that leap, but Kaminga's more Wiggins like. He's more point of
Mm,
attack, one-on-one defender, where Moses is just like the cerebral. I see everything.
yep.
I'm going to be there before it happens. I use my length and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I mean, he's more of a Draymond slash Andre Iguodala type of disciple defensively, and he has the same measurables as Draymond, same height and same
Yep.
wingspan as well. So definitely, he's one of those players. Like I said, because he can do so many things. You kind of got to live sometimes with the mistakes that he makes, just so he can learn from them. And that's one thing I
Yeah.
think Kerr has to implement into his style of development. Is like when a young guy makes a mistake, even if it's one or two in a row, don't just say, "Okay, you're done for the rest of the game." How about you call a timeout and say, "Hey, don't do that again. Do
Yeah.
this instead. I'm going to give you another shot. Let's make better plays and let them play through their mistakes instead of just saying, "Yeah, you're not playing again to the next game." Like,
Yeah, I mean, granted, after that, Moses did get back in but again, it was like for a hot second. So
mhm.
I just thought we really could see him out here a lot longer. Like we didn't need to insert Chris. It could have been Moses in there.
Yeah, it should have been Moses in there at the end.
Moses is gonna shoot. At least we know that is gonna
Yeah,
happen.
and he can close out with a
Yep.
much higher hand point, right? Like Chetty Osman has got to shoot that ball a little bit higher if it's Moses Moody out there closing out to him
Right.
and all of that stuff. So I think over the course of the season he'll end up playing more and more and more. Him getting the start was a really good sign that Kerr's starting to trust him a lot more, and he's been
Yeah.
dropping him in the post games interviews and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I think he's hearing everyone calling for more Moses Moody, and he's like, all right, let me give the people what they want, which is what the team needs.
Right. because you saw what kind of start, like initially it was like, all right. But then you saw it start to percolate, like, all right, we
Mhm.
get in the groove of things and stuff. So I just think we look more Moses Moody.
Yeah, yeah. They just need the young guys, just as much as they need the veterans. The young guys are what's gonna be able to bridge that gap
Yeah.
and provide that spark, that energy, that athleticism that the older dudes just don't have anymore, right? They still got the
Mhm.
skill. They can still shoot the ball. Chris Paul can still handle the ball and pass it, but at the end of the day, Clay's not staying in front of the small guards like that anymore. He's not the same defender he once was, even though I think he's better than people give him credit for.
Mhm.
Even Looney has gotten a little bit slower. Like he's just gotten bigger,
Yeah,
to guard some of the bigger bigs. So you need that burst out there. That's why Pods, whenever he plays on the court, he kind of jumps off the screen because he's just
yeah,
everywhere. Right. Same thing with Moses. Same thing with Gary. Even though Gary's a little bit older, they just need that energy a little bit more.
for sure. And
So.
I think Looney just needs Draymond back to help him with that load on the defensive end because he's in
Mhm.
here trying to cover up a lot of those just kind of mistakes and kind of like, y'all were supposed to be right there. Like, all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go out there, but that was really where y'all needed to be.
Right.
So, because you can see him laboring in anything, but what we can count on from Loon Dog is he will grab that rebound.
Yeah.
And when it's do or die, Looney came up with it at the end.
Mhm.
So it was just like,
It was like the ball had it was like he had a magnet in his hand. That
oh
just
my
that thing
gosh.
just went right to his hands. He was not letting it go.
He was not.
Yeah, shout out to
Early
Looney,
Looney,
man.
look, early Looney, it would have got ripped right out his hand. We've been like, dude, you couldn't even fight for that. But no, Looney now is like he had it. So,
Yeah.
but
Still working on them
he
finishes at the rim, but he gonna get the rebound.
look, but his free throws, he has been working on free throws. Yes, he missed one today, but he's been
Mhm.
working on it. He
Yeah.
has.
Yeah. Okay. So we got some mailbag questions. We usually do a mailbag every now and then, and we got a good amount. I want to say like maybe 8 or
Oh,
9.
look at that.
Um, so we'll go through them one by one. This is from Gordon Blue.
Gold
He
on.
asks, Gordon Blue. He asks, do you legitimately think that when healthy and all of the guys who are underperforming start to perform, do you believe this is a championship team or do you think they need to make a move? I'll let you answer first.
Um, if I'm looking at it right now, I'm like, absolutely not a championship team. But if everybody is healthy and our two starters, Clay and Wiggins, are who we know them to be, then yes, I think we are. Because just as we went up against certain teams, it was just like, we still are there. We still
Hmm.
have you know, we just got to tighten up here and there. But when it comes down to it, I'm still putting my chips on the Warriors. Because when it gets down to it, no, we know what we need to do to get this win. So that's how I
Hmm.
feel with that.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. I think you look at the team on paper, Clay and Wiggins are much better than they've been so far this season. And like I said, they're starting to round into form. The offense is still coming along, right? We got 25 from them combined on 22 shots tonight. Could be better, but
Mm.
it's going to be better. They've shown over the last few years that they're much better offensive players than this and defensive players. So when you take that into account, Draymond has been gone, right? If he's back and he's playing to the best of his abilities, he's a defensive player of the year candidate every year. At least he should be. Steph is still, at worst, the second best player in the league. I think he's still first.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not taking if in a playoff series, I'm not taking the other guys over Steph, right? So you're going to have the best player going into any series, and you got a legitimate, really good team. You got good players all up and down this roster. Yeah. So with the caveat that you're healthy and all the guys who are underperforming start to perform, they are definitely a championship caliber team.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, can they get to the playoffs healthy? Can they remain healthy enough in the regular season so they can get good seeding for the playoffs?
Mhm.
Those are the questions right there. I don't think they'll be able to sustain this bad of play
Yeah.
for an extended period of time. So
Right.
I think they're well on their way to proving to everybody that they're a legit contender very soon. Um, the next one is from Rich Casanova 13. This is kind of similar question, right? So, do you think the roster is good as is, needs to make changes on the margins, or needs a major trade that's involving a major trade, meaning a starter gets moved?
Mm. Well, you know my thoughts on it. I don't think we should be making a move at all. I feel like we have who we have. Let's actually get it to work to
Mm,
perfection. Like we have time. Like everyone's put in their their work. I just feel like give it that time. Like, and again, who are we bringing in? Like we don't have the funds to be bringing in somebody. We're trying to stay away from that second apron thing or whatever. But also, if you're bringing in who you think you we need to bring in, guess what? Those other little pieces that you think, they ain't really doing all that great are gone. But you have just this one person that you brought in. Who's filling in those other slots now to make up for what we just sent out?
mm,
So it's like we've got a good group here. Our second unit is actually like one of the best in the league.
really?
So I think what we outscored 15 of 16. So
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
something's happening. Something's working. It's the starters who haven't shown up like they're supposed to. We've got one that has, and that's Steph.
Mhm.
And now we're finally getting our wings going, okay? They're showing up. So
Yeah,
let's for me, it's just like, no, I think we can do things with who we have.
I agree. I agree. I think the longer the quote unquote struggle goes on, the more you have to look at other options. But I think for now, you take everything into account and you say we've been missing a lot of guys. Like we said
Mhm.
earlier in the pod, a lot of guys have been missing. We've been playing a lot of good teams, very tough schedule. So let's just see how they look when everybody's together and healthy for an extended stretch against a more normal schedule.
Right.
And just like we've seen them play bad, let's give them a chance to see if they can turn it around and play good for an extended stretch, because we know that the guys who are struggling right now are capable of doing much
Mhm.
better, right? Because they are the guys who won the championship, right? It's been the starters that's been mainly the struggle this season. Like I said, all of them except Steph have either underperformed or, in Draymond's case, have not been present for
Right.
for
For
his
20
own
minutes.
doing.
For 20 minutes.
Yeah, right. 7 of the games that he's missed has been directly because he can't control himself.
Yeah.
So he needs to stay on the court. The other guys need to play better. We know they're capable of doing that. We know Draymond's capable of keeping himself in check, at least for an extended period of time before he has another episode. But um, once they do that, they should start to, do better, right? Steve is included in that as well. He needs to mix in more young guys with the older guys instead of going all young or all old.
Yeah. But we saw a little bit of that. Again,
Right. We saw that
start,
today.
but then also you saw where the usual second unit comes in, and then you started to see how, wait, this really isn't jiving. And he started moving that second unit around, dropping in different little pieces here and there to be like, okay, wait, I think we found, a good group here that kind of keeps it moving for us. So
Hmm.
I think it's starting to be like, all right, we're finally Gary's back. At least we can do some things because Gary was in that second unit. He got Gary up out of there and put
Yep.
him with Steph. And you
Smart.
saw how it flipped.
Yep.
Because for some reason, Gary wasn't working too well in that second unit. It wasn't like there was nothing really, really going on. And it kind of just like we were just bogged down. Pulled Gary out, put him with the stars. All of a sudden, new life.
Yeah.
New life on both in both units. So
Yeah. I've been saying since the beginning of the season, he's a
better with
player that
Steph.
needs to play next to Steph. He needs
He's
to
like
play with.
better with Steph.
Yeah. And Steph is better with him. I mean, Steph is Steph,
Yeah,
but like they juice each other up because of
they
their skill
do.
sets complement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. And to see their interaction too, like they know, like they're
Yeah.
feeding off of each other too. So
Exactly.
I love to see.
Exactly. Okay. So the next one, a lot of these are very trade based. I'm just letting you guys know. This
Mhm.
is from Bob Swagger Lee. If tomorrow was the deadline, what realistic trade would you guys make that would turn the team into a contender? I guess I'll just answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Go
we've
ahead.
already answered this that we think they already have a contending
Realistic
roster.
trade. What's a realistic one? No, give Mr. Bobby Swagger the realistic trade that could
Okay.
actually happen.
One that can actually happen.
Mhm.
Well, we got to look at two teams, I think, in particular, because they're very close to, I think, blowing it up in the East. That's Chicago and that's Toronto, right?
Not
So you look
Detroit.
at
I'm just kidding.
bring Wiseman back, but
How
but with Toronto, they seem to be trending toward Scotty Barnes being their franchise cornerstone. So that means Siakam, who has just this last year on his deal,
Mhm.
and OG, who has this year and next year on his deal, could potentially be available, right? They've been in trade rumors for the last some years.
Yeah.
Now, you do the math, Siakam makes 36, 37. Chris Paul and Kuminga combined make 36, 37. You would think that would be the trade with a lot of draft compensation in there, a few first rounders maybe.
Mm.
Who knows how realistic that is, given how, Masai is holding those guys hostage. But I
Mhm.
think once this trade deadline, those guys will probably be gone because he'll lose them for nothing if he doesn't trade them. So that's one. OG makes 18. So, I mean, you look at Wiggins makes 24. You can make some money work there, right? Uh yeah, who knows how that would work out. I mean, they're pretty close in caliber of player. So is it like really worth to bring in
Yeah.
OG?
Plus, Wiggins literally took a team-friendly discount,
He did.
and so you're gonna mm,
Yeah.
uh,
That'd be tough. That would be bad business, right? It'll look bad to the rest of the league
yeah.
for sure. But just money wise, that would be, money wise and just on paper, that would be another option. You look at Chicago, I'm not really sure the money on Vooch and
Uh-huh.
Caruso and those guys, but those are some targets that they can go after. People keep talking about Zach LaVine. Sure, theoretically, you can do a Clay for Zach LaVine trade money wise. Wouldn't really make much sense for the team to do that trade because Zach LaVine makes $140 million more dollars for the next 3 seasons, which puts you smack dab in the second apron, over the second apron, well over it. Which means you probably lose 3 more players that you currently have on your team because you can't pay them later on.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't do the Zach one. I wouldn't do any of these trades right now. If it came down to it, if this team was still struggling, I would definitely look hard at Siakam for sure. But other than that, it's it's just 2K trade machine stuff like that.
Mhm.
Fantasy world. All right, we're on to the next one.
On to the next.
I think you asked this one.
I probably did.
No, I'm joking. You did ask this one. um, you said, "Do you think Coach Kerr is ultimately to blame for the losing streak, or could this be a combination of not having a full healthy roster and players not performing up to expectations?" We already answered this, but I will say it's probably both. All
Exactly.
of these things together.
Mhm.
Kerr is not coaching to the best of his abilities. We've already kind of highlighted how he's playing
Mhm.
too many all vet lineups and too many all young guy lineups instead of blending them in and using that experience and skill with the vets with the energy and the athleticism of the young guys together, which is what he should be doing more. He should be playing guys like Moses more. Um, and in-game coaching, in-game adjustments, coaching up the young guys, kind
Mhm.
of doing the try hard thing. Like you look at the coach of OKC, like he's
Yeah.
calling a timeout every time they make a single mistake. He's calling a timeout. Like he's so into it every
Mhm.
single possession. And I get it; it's hard to do that when you've been a championship coach to take the regular season and try to break down every possession down to the minutia every time. But when you have a team like this, where so many young guys are being heavily dependent on, you need to have that type of juice, I think.
Mhm.
And then obviously we've already highlighted how Draymond's missed a bunch of time, Gary's missed time, Steph's missed time, Clay and Wiggins and Kaminga are performing under their standard and expectation. They'll be better.
Yeah.
And yeah, ultimately all those things together is a pretty bad storm. And then when you look at it, 8 and 9 during the worst possible storm possible, like it's not that bad. It's not that
Yeah.
bad.
Well, thanks for answering my question.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'll leave this next question for you. This is
Uh-oh.
from Sub Thoughts. He said,
So
"Are y'all tired of Draymond shit?"
Um, yes, emphatically. And earlier you had said, yes, there will be a time Draymond's going to come back. He's going to be all nicey nicey on his best behavior. And then later on, he'll do something to screw it up. I feel like maybe this particular one could have been the ultimate wake up call because this was the time where Kerr actually kind of called him out and is just like, you held on too long, dude. Like, I was with you was protecting your teammate. I was with you if you want to get him off like real quick, but the extended drag across the court, that's where nah, I'm not with you on that one. So I think that being like blasted out there and others kind of like, you did choke him out. Like, don't really look good. You trying to choke him out and stuff. So maybe, and with the 5 games, and you saw how we just lost games, lost games, lost games. And it's just like, ultimately, dude, you could have fixed that because you had literally just got kicked out the game before. And then you come back to now 5 games out. So maybe finally you've realized, you know what? Listen, I have this reputation that they're always going to fall back on. So I'm going to just, fly steady. Yes, I'm going to still, like get into things and play my game, but I have to like stop and really think I can't let my team down once again. I can't be, just getting kicked out, getting texts here and there. Like, I have to be there for my team. And you kind of heard that from Curry and Kerr, and even Chris kind of said it, but he said it to himself just as him getting booted out or whatever. Like, I can't do that. I got to be there for my team. So I think this might be, maybe, hopefully, this is the wake up call. But yeah, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, you said it. I couldn't said it any better. Um, let's go to the next question. This is from Tommy Hill. He said, "Can Kaminga impact the game other than scoring, or other than trying to score?"
Listen, if he
um,
plays that defense, if he's got to, that's where it
yeah,
is. It's like, dude, you just got to be better on defense. He just
yeah,
kind of goes in and out sometimes. It's like, were, were you not paying attention in the huddle?
right.
Or
With
sit
JK, It's I don't think it's ever a matter of can, right? Especially like he's so athletically gifted. It's like he can do anything that he wants to on the court, you know, without the ball in his hands. He can rebound, he can get steals in the pass lane, block shots, he can bang with bigger players, he can stay with the quicker players. Such a freak athlete. He absolutely can impact the game outside of scoring. And that's really what he should be focusing on. And that is what will take this team ultimately to another level. Obviously, they need his scoring punch. They need him to be able to score inside,
Yeah.
post up, hit mid-range shots, get to the free throw
Yeah.
line. That's an offensive juice that he can bring to the team that they'll really need, especially considering how like, Clay and Wiggins and stuff, these guys aren't Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. These guys aren't Jamal Murray type of support for Steph. So you need the other guys to step up offensively as well. But outside of the offense, Kaminga needs to be that wing player similar to Wiggins in 2022 that
Mhm.
just does all of the dirty work because he's just the most athletic guy on the court at all times. That's why I think that's his way to impact the game. And he's been doing it, or he was doing it his rookie season and his sophomore season, right? His sophomore season much more so than his rookie season, right? He
Yeah.
had a few games where he was really looked like a lockdown defender 1-on-1. He had Shea
Yes.
in the seatbelt one game last year. He had Luca in the seatbelt one game last year, and he just kind of, I mean, it just seems like sometimes, like you say, he's a little spacey. Like he just his mind's not on that anymore, and he
Yeah.
has to get back there.
It's like a constant, like, having to tell him, "You have to play some defense. You have to grab
Mhm.
these rebounds." And then he'll come out, and then he's doing that. He's doing that. And then, they feed him the ball. He makes a couple of baskets, and then all of a sudden, he forgets, "You still got work to do on the other end."
Yeah,
Like, "You do the work on this other end, and we always got you here. We always got you here."
exactly.
He's like a little kid, like, "Oh, yeah, 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 I just did good. Okay, we rewarded you." And then you don't realize that, no, you've gotta keep this up. Like, you don't always get rewards for doing something you're supposed to be.
Supposed to do. Yeah.
So,
And this is where Steve comes in. Now, this is obviously on Kaminga as well, right? As a
but you
player, you
see
have to, yeah,
pull him to be like, "You gotta be homie,"
yeah,
and sends him right back out to do it.
right. Like it's never really been Steve's style, I think, to do this, but
Mhm.
he has to evolve in some way, and it has to be to the point where Kaminga's like, man, Steve is just like on my back all the time. Like you have to be overcoaching him, I think. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
he's probably the only player on the team where you really got to do that with. Everybody else seems to either get it. Everybody else seems to get it. It's just some guys who are just physically incapable of doing some stuff. He's
Mhm.
physically capable of doing literally anything, but he
Mhm.
just mentally doesn't always bring it. And that's when Steve has to come in. It can't be, yeah, Chris Paul, just whip him into shape. Like Chris
Mhm.
Paul's out there playing. He can't play and coach.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be the coach. You have to be the guy that's constantly on him, tell him rebounding, tell him, yo, get around the screen this way, anticipate the screen, box your man out, like do all the little things, and you're going to play more. You're going to get more play calls for you. I'm going to make sure you get 3 or 4 post ups and all this other stuff. Like this is what's going to get you there, and you got to do it.
Yeah. One of those, like, kids that you have to be on top of gotta micromanage him because he's like, "No, no, 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 no," and it's like, "No, no, 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 focus. No, 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 nope, focus." So, yeah. Yeah, but I think Kerr is kind of like breaking out of that shell and seeing,
Hmm.
"All right, let me step out of my own comfort zone and really, start to do that. Start to really, because you do see from time to time on the sidelines, he is talking to him and telling him, "All right, but I'm gonna keep you in though. So go do what we just discussed. Yeah, I'm calling this
Right.
timeout because you're messing up out here, but I'm gonna need you to just regroup. Now get back out there." So
Mhm.
he is like giving him some rope. And then, it's up to Kaminga to really just be like, "All right, I got it, I got it." But he ain't
Mhm.
always got it. Mm-mm.
Right. Okay, moving on to the next question. We got two more left. This is from Glory. He said,
Glory.
"Would have been Steve Kerr's while we're on the topic of Steve Kerr, would have been Steve Kerr's greatest strengths and weaknesses over the years." What do you
Hmm.
think?
Well, we always go to him being able to manage the many, many egos that he has. Like, I think overall, you still have to have that skill and to be able to talk to players and get through to players and everything. So I think that that is something that would be a strength of his because who he actually has to coach. These are super duper stars. Like you have Curry and then you have Clay Thompson who like these are just like all-time shooters here. And then you have Draymond on the defensive end who's just whew, just a wild boy, who's literally bumped heads with Kerr. So to be able to kind of still like have the team intact and together, I think that's a strength to be able to do that. But I think he's also bringing in people on his squad that can, handle the things that he maybe just isn't strong at. So I think he hires he has a good team around him, I think. So that's a strength.
Yeah.
Weakness, he's very rigid, very set in his ways, but there
Mhm.
are lots of coaches who aren't, wanting to bend in that way, and I think we probably are just, like, super hard on Kerr because 'cause I'm always just like, "Well, if you guys wanna get rid of him so bad, who are you getting to replace him? Who is the coach that you're bringing in to coach this group? Who you think is gonna just do a fan freaking tastic job. They're gonna do it. They're gonna be the ones. So, but thinking about who you're dealing with and what comes with all of that, especially a championship team. You've got four-time champion. A lot's gone in there. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I agree on everything like you said. Being able to manage all those egos, being able to keep everything together and the culture together. Not necessarily saying like Steve is keeping the culture together himself. It's obviously Steph, but
Right.
he's a big part of that as well. As far as from the X's and O's thing, like it's he's a really smart X and O's coach. He just is like you say, he's very rigid and
Mhm,
he like sticks to the things that he loves to stick to when it's like you have 3 or 4 wrinkles off of this play that you just haven't been implementing
mhm,
as much as you should. You can get a little bit more creative with the pick and roll stuff and getting Clay the ball in easier positions, but um yeah, I think his biggest weaknesses as far as this particular team this year we've already highlighted is his unwillingness to overcoach, his willingness to like fully involve himself in the middle of the game, stopping it and coaching guys up and doing that. He just kind of lets his guys play. And it's like, sure, that's good for Steph and Clay and Chris Paul and these guys who've been doing it for over a decade. But the younger guys and the guys who have roles that are super important that they have never been on this team before, you need to coach them up. You need to make sure that they know what's going on. You need to make sure that they are supplementing the older guys as much as they
mhm.
possibly can so you can, accomplish the goal that you ultimately want to accomplish. So, we got one more question. This is from Truth. He said, "Is there a chance that maybe y'all are wrong on this team and that maybe the window is closed? Not
Ooh,
everyone ends on a title in their last dance." What do you think about that?
truth is, not spitting all
He's a
that much truth.
he's a
Look.
Lakers fan, by the way. I'm just putting that
Oh,
so
typical, typical, typical. I wouldn't call this the last dance at all. This is just another year to win a championship. That's how I see it. I don't think we're wrong about, you know, the guys that we have. We know what they're capable of. And even with everything that even happened last season to this, Lakers fan here, we were still in the playoffs in the second round. We can talk about a free throw disparity. Really could. We could talk about someone's rib being, almost what cracked basically in that what was that the fourth game or
Fifth.
whatever, the fifth game. So that,
Mhm.
and then clearly Gary throwing up
Yeah.
wasn't well, and still was right in there.
Mhm.
So again, I'm not saying that this is done. This is in our last dance. So no, I don't think we are incorrect about this team at all.
No, I don't either. I mean, it's always you have to acknowledge that sure, maybe, right? But
Mhm.
no, we ain't there yet.
Yeah.
We'll only be there if we actually are there. That's when I'll say, "Oh,
Right.
last
Like,
dance." Once
oh,
it's already done, I'll say it was the last dance. I'm not gonna say it in the midst of it,
right.
right? When Steph is still this good,
There
um,
you go.
yeah, and like we both said already, we think this team at its best is a contending level team.
Mhm.
So no, I don't think it's the last dance when you have a contending level team and the best player in the league on it. So yeah, when they no longer have that, then it's the last dance. Then it's over.
Right.
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 They don't have that yet. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
those are all the questions we got for today. I think that was a good one. Warriors got to win, like we said. They got Sacramento on Tuesday.
Tuesday? Mhm.
Tuesday on TNT. It's a in-season tournament game. It is.
It
It is
is.
the last in-season tournament
Right.
game of group play.
Yeah. So that's
Like,
3 days off. So that's
yeah,
yeah, 'cause today is Friday. Look, I'm like, what's today?
so yeah, they're going to be able to practice with the
Yep.
full team finally again, and hopefully they get a good performance. They got to go into Sacramento, so they're going to be hyped up.
I am
Sacramento is going to be jumping, so this is the perfect opportunity to kind of restart their season, like reset it.
Mhm. Yeah,
I
'cause
think,
Darren Fox is back, so
and they've been hooping. They have won. Well, actually, just lost 2 games in a row before they just won tonight. But before then, they had won 6 games in a row against some pretty good teams. So, the Kings are back. They're good again. Like they're just good, right? They got Fox. He's one of the best players in the league.
oh, yeah, Trey Lyles is back too. He
Yeah,
been out
they
of
they they have a good team.
yes.
So it's not gonna be an easy win at all, but it'll be a good win if they can get it done, and it'll be the start of starting up a new win streak. Right? They're already at one. Why not get to two? Why not get to three
Yeah,
and four and five?
there we
Right.
go. I like this style, Justin.
Exactly. So yeah, we appreciate you guys for joining. Um, Subscribe, share, tell
Mhm.
people on the street, you know, tell your friends, tell your coworkers about us, show them on Spotify, Odyssey app, on Apple Podcasts, go on YouTube under 95.7 the game, you know, go into their podcast folder and you'll see us right there. We upload after every episode, put the notification bell on, all that stuff too.
Ding.
And when you rate 5 stars, please.
Only 5.
Only 5. Don't rate anything else. In
Yeah.
the YouTube comments, don't talk about my voice being very monotone. Okay. Say good things. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All feedback is good feedback
Exactly.
unless it's bad feedback. So
Mm.
thank Karima again for joining.
Thank you, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Um, Very much appreciated. And we'll be back after the Kings game.
Yeah, right after that win that we get.
Right
Yay.
after that win. I don't know
Woo.
what just happened on my
I
screen.
know. But that was cool.
But yeah, thank you guys. Peace.
Peace.